Right, so this is going to be a bit of a different video. Today we're talking about that all-important role, the Doctor, and everything that comes with it. Obviously, most if not all of us would love to have the opportunity to play this amazing character, but very select few will actually get the role, but that's not going to stop me from theorising. Today, I'd like to ask the question, what if I was Doctor Who? Real quick, before we get into the video, this video took a lot of effort to make, but not just from me. All of these people on screen right now have made this video possible, from sharing ideas to creating assets and generally just giving up their time to make this video a possibility. You'll see these names pop up a bit more when we look into the specific elements of my Doctor, but I'd like to say a massive thank you to every single one of them for their help. Also, if you end up enjoying this video, then please consider subscribing, as the support recently has been insane, and we're getting ever closer to 1,000 subscribers, but I need your help to get there. Anyway, let's get on with the video. So we're going to start this video off with the sonic screwdriver, a tool that has become a key way to identify each Doctor, as in the modern era it changes dramatically every time he or she regenerates. Now, I came up with the concept for my sonic screwdriver a couple of years ago and did some rough drawings which you can see here. Instantly, the big thing here is that it's double-ended, but we'll get to that and some other details that come with it a little bit later, because the concepts are about to get a lot cooler. I then reached out both in my own Discord server, which you can find a link to in the description, and in the Swud Team Discord server, for anyone that is good at 3D modelling and texturing to make me a model based off of this image, and I actually got 2 responses. The one on the left is from one of my moderators, Pepsi Who, and it is amazing considering he did this in barely any time at all and without any sort of input from me, as I didn't actually know he was doing it at the time. It features some unique decorations, like the Gallifreyan writing down the side, which actually spells something out, so I'll leave it to the Doctor Who nerds down in the comments to decipher it. This is genuinely really cool, however for the rest of this section we're going to be focusing on the second model, purely because the person who made it had a lot more time to do so, and I gave them a lot of information about it that they could use to make it as realistic as possible. So this Blender model was made by Nibroc, a member of the Swud Team Discord, and it is incredible. It's very accurate to what I had in mind, and we're now going to use it to go over some of the details that really makes this Sonic unique. So yeah, instantly, as I mentioned earlier, as you can see, it's got 2 ends, one here and one down there. Now, I've realised afterwards that this actually resembles Darth Maul's lightsaber from Star Wars quite a lot, and I've only been told that by people after, because when designing this, I genuinely just didn't notice that, and I didn't take it into consideration, but the double-endedness of it and the red does link it to that quite a lot, which is quite funny if you ask me, so I'm definitely going to be keeping it like that. But yeah, this actually links in to a little bit of storyline with this Sonic. However, we'll get to that in just a second, because we'll talk about how this Sonic is made. So just like we've seen in the rest of New Who, apart from the 13th Doctor who made her own, this is made by the TARDIS itself, and so it shares a lot of characteristics with that TARDIS, and we'll get to the TARDIS a little bit later on in the video, but you'll definitely be able to see some similarities and some differences once we get onto that. And yes, if you're wondering, it would basically do what Peter Capaldi's did, because I just think that's the coolest scene ever. So back to the double-endedness. So yes, both of these ends do work separately, and they can also work together. However, there's a little bit of story with it. So in the finale, in the regeneration episode, the Doctor would be battling some sort of big enemy, like the Daleks or the Cybermen, or even something new. I haven't really decided on that, but that's not really the point. So he'd be in the middle of a big battle and basically just be outnumbered. There's stuff coming from all sides, and the Sonic just isn't really good enough, because as we know, the Sonic can be used as a weapon, but that's not really its intention. So what he decides to do, or rather what I would decide to do if I was playing him, would be this. So he sort of places 2 hands on the Sonic, one around this bit, which is the main area you'd use to grip, and one sort of up here in this kind of area, and basically holds the Sonic. And what starts to happen is this central bit here, with all of these spikes, I guess we'll call them, they start to spin. And at the same time, they start to come outwards. So these individual spikes come out until they are completely horizontal with this middle bit here. And then finally, the Sonic breaks into two. So this bit, so all of this area here becomes one section. And then all of this area here becomes another section. And then this middle section with all spikes and stuff sort of just drops to the ground. So this leaves the Doctor with two separate Sonics, which he can use in both hands and go and fight whatever the monsters are that he's trying to keep at bay. Although eventually, as it's a regeneration episode, it's a finale, he'll probably die anyway, so it's kind of pointless. But I just thought that'd be a really, really cool story element. So here's a concept drawing I did around the same time as the initial drawing, because that's the big idea I had with this double-endedness. I didn't want to just pull a Chris Chibnall and make a really exciting storyline and then just not continue it at all. Instead, I wanted to make something that isn't just a design feature, it's something that links in with the story as well. So we've just flipped the Sonic upside down to have a look at the underneath section, because obviously if this was an actual Sonic, it would have a toy variant, and that would need an activation button so that, you know, you can actually use both lights, which would be functional. And that can be used by the activation button right here, just on the underside of this grip area. And there's then also this top bit, which initially, as you saw in the design, I planned to sort of have spikes, a bit like lightning almost coming out of it. However, Nibroc has chosen to go for a sort of marble thing, and I actually really, really like this. I think it looks amazing, and it fits really, really nicely. Now, a couple of inconsistencies here are that these spiky diagonal bits right here would sort of be the same as these lights. So when the lights glow, these would also glow. A little bit like how you have in the 13th Doctor's Sonic, the bits in the middle also light up when the lights turn on. And then another little thing is I'd probably remove these diagonal bits, as I have them on the drawing, but I'm not really sure what purpose they serve, so I'd probably just move these bits down. So that bit's in the middle of this area, and then this one is also in the middle of this area. But other than that, there's not really many differences at all between this model and the Sonic that I actually imagined. And so with that, let's move on to the next feature of this video, which is the TARDIS Exterior. So for the rest of this video, we're pretty much just going to be using Minecraft, and we're now going to be moving on to this right here, the TARDIS Exterior. However, just before we do, you may notice that in my hand, I'm holding my own sonic screwdriver in Minecraft, which the Ginger Doctor made for me, and it's really, really cool. And this also gives you an idea of scale. Yeah, it's really, really big. Although this is made using a couple of pixels, so it might not be that accurate. But speaking of the Ginger Doctor, he made this as well. So I sent him an initial concept that I created for a TARDIS Exterior, and it did look a lot like this. However, I basically just used the 13th Doctor's as a base and literally just retextured the windows, the sign, and then this signage up here as well, and then the light on top. However, what he's done is completely redone this blue color to be the color that I wanted it to be, redid the windows so that they look a lot cooler than what I initially had in mind, and pretty much left everything else the same, and it looks amazing. So obviously you can't really get a perfect idea of what this would look like in real life, purely because the pixels just aren't really big enough in the Dalek mod to show, because I wanted this to look cool in game. But yeah, I'll do my best to explain some elements of this. So first of all, you can see that these windows are red. Now this is continuing from the red theme that we had in the Sonic, and the red theme that we're about to have in here in the TARDIS Interior, and then you can also see that there are some red specks on this signage up here. So what this is supposed to represent is that effectively there will be a red glow coming from both the windows and this signage. So the windows will mostly still be white in the middle. However, if you think back to Christopher Eccleston's TARDIS, they have that sort of blue glow around the edge, and that's what mine will have. It's just it will be red, and it will also be a little bit more prominent, so it'll be a bit more obvious. And then a very similar thing with this signage up here. It will be white on black. However, it will sort of have a red glow coming out of it, which will be especially obvious when it dematerializes. The sign is just pretty simple. These are sort of 4 white screws that we'll have in the middle, and then it's white text on a black background, just like in the 13th Doctor's. However, the main thing I'd like to talk about is this light. So on this TARDIS Exterior, it's obviously literally just 6 pixels on each side, and that's because in Minecraft it literally just wouldn't be possible to make what I have in mind. So what this light is supposed to be is a little blue diamond in the middle with 3 metal rings sort of floating around it. So when the TARDIS TARDIS is just stationary, they sort of spin around it on different axes in different directions very, very slowly. However, when it dematerializes, they sort of speed up and speed up and speed up, and the diamond starts spinning in the middle as well. And then it would do the standard thing of sort of the light is the last thing you see as it dematerializes, and yeah, I just thought that was a pretty cool concept. So here's a really, really rough drawing that I made on screen to sort of show it in a little bit more detail, because obviously my explanation probably isn't great. But other than that, that's pretty much all I have to show you for this TARDIS exterior. So yeah, massive thank you to Ginger for that. But now let's head on inside to have a look at this, the TARDIS Interior. So there's a lot to go over for this, and I'm gonna do my best to explain as much as I can. So first of all, this was built by me, however a lot of it was also done with the help of the letter O, and I'll give credits for certain things as we go along. So I'm going to sort of ignore this central bit. You can see there's something a little bit unique about it which we'll get to in just a second, but let's go over everything else first. So first of all, you can see that this is made of red stained steel, and that's mostly just because it looks nice. It's literally as simple as that. I think it just looks really, really cool. However, if we head down here into the under bit, then what we can do is step right here, and as you can see, I've made an alternate version which is made in redstone blocks. And the reason I made this alternate version is because these red bits are actually supposed to sort of be glowing. So a little bit like in this Sonic where we had the top being sort of crystallized, that's what I'd imagine these to look like. Sort of a combination between the Capaldi lights that you can see around the TARDIS and a crystal that you find on top of the Sonic. So these would also be a lot thinner, and they'd also be a bit more complicated. However, obviously this is just Minecraft, everything's a meter by meter, so I've had to take some creative liberties to show you. You may also notice there's some trapdoors around the TARDIS, where in the other one there wasn't, and the reason for that is because when you dematerialize, these lights actually do something cool. However, that wasn't possible if I put trapdoors in front of them. So these redstone blocks still do look quite cool, and they're actually technically more accurate to what I had in mind, because this is actually a recreation of the first ever custom interior I made ever. Like, I made this back in Dalek Mod 1.12, and I've just noticed there's some carpets missing here. But yeah, I've remade this in Dalek Mod 1.16, and there's a screenshot on screen right now of that first ever TARDIS interior. And as you can see, I used redstone blocks for that, because like I said, it's more accurate, and we also didn't have the steel in that version. But personally, to me, the steel just looks a lot nicer, and yeah, it's not really that big of a deal. Anyway, as you can see, there's this really cool glass floor consisting of red, grey, light grey, and black stained glass. And then there's also some platforms leading off to different areas. So you can see some library sections over by the door. This right here is a hat stand. And then you've also got these platforms which you can see going all the way around the TARDIS. And this is because this central area, it's pretty much floating, as you might have seen earlier. There's also these end rods, so credit to the letter O for this idea. I think they fit really, really nicely. There's then also sort of an under console area. However, this under bit is technically quite inaccurate as well, because obviously this would just be a smooth slope, so you wouldn't be able to sort of walk down like a staircase like you can in Minecraft. So there would be sort of some corridor entrances around and some platforms to help you get down, because yeah, like I mentioned, this bit would be accessible, and this is where the Doctor would do a lot of his maintenance. So you could sort of flip these front bits up and there'd be loads of wires in there and stuff. That's what I can sort of imagine for this under bit. Anyway, as we head back up, speaking of corridor entrances, there are some right here, and if we head on inside, this actually takes you up to the second layer of this TARDIS. So in the actual show, you probably wouldn't see inside them, but you could just sort of safely assume that's where they lead. And up here, you've got some interesting stuff. Now, I'm sort of torn on this bit, because I really like what I've done here. So you've got like a garden area, you've got two sort of bits which are recalling the Doctor's past adventures, so you've got some ornaments from like past TARDISes and stuff. You've got like paintings and stuff which are showing previous incidents he's been to and stuff he's saved people from. And then you've also got a reading corner, which is a bit of a callback to the 8th Doctor's TARDIS, where I use this exact same chair design and this lamp design. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure if this would be in the actual one in the show. It might just be a bit more empty around here. But yeah, I'm a bit torn on that one, but I really do like these details. Then you've also got some chairs dotted around, and that same red pattern thing, which you can see down here. However, like I said earlier, if this wasn't Minecraft, these would be a little bit more detailed. Then back down here, you can just see there's a couple of chairs, some tables with some random components on, two big monitors like the 13th Doctor's, and then something that I mentioned earlier that we'd come back to, this incredible time rotor. So this was made by the letter O, and it looks absolutely amazing. However, you might also think it looks a little bit weird. Now, that's because we are yet to dematerialize. And when you dematerialize, something really, really cool happens. So I'm just going to shut up and let you watch it. So yeah, as you can see, basically what starts to happen is that this bit in the middle starts spinning, and then these bits come up from both sides to try and meet it in the middle, and these lights also start going all the way around the TARDIS. So I have to give some credit to Tebo2 as well. I used one of his TARDIS tutorials, which you can find a link to in the description, to make these lights, because if we head outside, these use observers, which is genius. I would not have thought of that at all, so huge credit to him. But that is the reason we can't have trapdoors, because unfortunately the observers pass straight through these lamps and start activating all the trapdoors, and it gets a little bit messy. But anyway, back to this rotor. So this is sort of the blue diamond in the middle, represented by the sea lantern, and then you've got these 3 metal rings spinning all the way around it, which is made by these stone slabs. Then these bits right here, in the actual one, they'd be a little bit thinner, and it would be less obvious that, you know, they're sort of stopping right there. As you can see, they'd sort of continue down a little bit more. But yeah, other than that, this is pretty accurate. Now, what I was initially planning before the letter O made this incredible texture pack and gave me all the tutorials for these commands and everything, is to show you in just a bigger version. So if we head out here, as you can see, what I've gone ahead and created is a much bigger version. So just a scaled up version. So this is more similar to what the console would actually look like. It's obviously 6-sided, although I haven't decorated it in any way, and these bits would also move when it dematerializes. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about lighting here, because it's quite important. So once it dematerializes and this central section starts spinning and these bits go up and down, every time these go fully up and they get to this point where they're really, really close to this central sort of spinning diamond, it would send a pulse all the way through the TARDIS. So these bits, as you can see, sort of light up in the middle, and it would go all the way down and sort of just spread through the console in all the different directions. And I think it would look really, really cool. And then we've also got this bit up here, and this is where I mentioned earlier that you'd see some similarities with the Sonic. If you remember, we had these big sort of 4 spiky bits in the Sonic that come out, they sort of start to spin and then it splits into 2. Yeah, they are basically replicated at the top of this rotor. Now, I wanted to experiment a little bit, which you can see down here, because if we head to the other side of this TARDIS, as you can see, there's also a version that uses redstone blocks. So here's just an alternate version of what it might look like, and I'd say they both look pretty cool. To be fair, in this instance, I think I actually prefer the redstone, but in the whole TARDIS, it can just be like a little bit too bright, a little bit too vibrant. So yeah, for the rest of the TARDIS, I chose to stick with the red stained steel. But that's pretty much it for the concept for this time rotor. So if you're curious how I made it, if you head up here, there's a load of command block stuff. Now, if I'm totally honest, I don't understand any of this. The letter O helped enormously by sending me huge Discord messages explaining all of this, but basically when you dematerialize, it sort of executes if the block is pulled, and then it starts this big chain right here. So this is for all the lighting, and then this one up here is very similar, but this is for the time rotor. So as you can see, it says execute if block pulled true. That's the same. It will start all of these command blocks, and as you can see, this just uses a little bit of a redstone clock to make these 2 bits go up and down away from the middle. And speaking of the middle, that is controlled by these 3 command blocks right here. Just another of those same execute commands, followed by 3 commands for each of the 3 rings that spin around that middle diamond thing at different speeds. And then, as you can see, if we rematerialize, everything will stop, the lights go back to normal, and this stays as it is. And yeah, that is pretty much everything that I would have if I played the Doctor. You've got a really cool looking sonic screwdriver that was made by Nibroc in an incredible blender model, and then by the Ginger Doctor in game. Then you've also got an amazing TARDIS Exterior and a TARDIS Interior with an incredible custom time rotor made by the letter O. And with that, I really hope you liked this video. So this is something that I'm not really used to doing. This is basically just a brain explosion in a video. These are ideas that I've had for a really, really long time, and I got some people together to share them with you. So once again, massive thank you to everybody that helped me create this. The letter O, Ginger Doctor, Nibroc, Pepsi, who absolutely everyone. And of course to the SWOD team for creating the Dalek mod, which allows me to showcase all of this. And a massive thank you to you for making it to the end of this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like or comment. And if you'd like to see more content like this, then please subscribe. But I've been DT10, and I will see you in the next video.